Hey guys, it's Bradu. This video is gonna be a little intro to a game I came up with. I'm calling it Pack Wars Basketball Trading Card Game. Somewhat similar to the Pack Wars Baseball that I did a video a couple months back. This is a lot more simplified, but the idea is still the same. Everything in front of you is what you need to play the game. A couple packs of basketball cards. I've got 1990 Fleer here, some dice. You kind of need the whole set of D&D dice, or there are apps you can get on your phone and things for rolling dice that would work fine. Pencil and paper. The basic idea here is that you and a buddy, maybe you each have a pack, and you're gonna play a game. You're gonna open up, see who your team is, roll some dice, see how many points each guy scores, see who wins the game. There's definitely things you can do to tweak that. You can play it solo. You can do a little mini tournament with 4 friends. Anyway, that's the simplest idea. Is you're gonna open up a couple packs of cards, make a team, play a game. So let's get down to it. Alright, I saw a fun one right on back, so I already like this team. Mike Sanders, Kevin McHale, Dan Marley, Charles Oakley, Bill Laimbeer, Terry Porter, Byron Scott. There he is! Michael Jordan. First Jordan I pulled. Alright. I was starting to worry it. You should get a couple sets out of a box of these. And that's the first Jordan I've pulled, and I'm down to not a whole lot of packs. So, alright, we got Jordan. So this is going to be fun. Presley, Cycli, Larry Nance, David Robinson. Wow. Roberts, Harper. That was a killer. This team's going to be tough to beat, I'll tell you that right now. So there's our first team. We'll pick 5 starters and then just a short bench of 1 player at each position. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And the other team, we're going to hope there's no duplicates. If there is, you can always work with it. We got Charles Smith, Mitch Richmond, Purvis Short, Checklist. We won't need that. Darrell Walker, Terry Teagle, John Williams, Mailman Malone, Mark West, Jack Sikma, Blair Rasmussen, David Wingate, Bill Winnington, Scottie Pippen. Oh, I didn't even see that. Tom Chambers, Mike Brown. So Chambers can't play either. So this team got a couple cards they can't use. That's one of the rules I should go over. And that's why junk era, there's not really a junk era for basketball, but basically late 80s, early 90s packs will work best for this because you see a minimal number of cards that you can only use base cards for this. It's got to be a regular card that shows their regular stats. Otherwise, geez, you do a hockey one and every team will have Gretzky if you use every Gretzky insert that comes out. Jordan usually would have a bunch too. So anyway, you can only use base cards. So what we're going to do is make our 2 lineups. So our first team, we're going to break it down positionally. Guard, forward, center. This is just a killer team. There's guys that aren't going to make the team that are great players. So Robinson's going to be our center. Sorry, Laimbeer. Even Ronnie Cycli doesn't make the cut. Forwards, McHale. Nance is McHale and X-Man. Good, I wanted X-Man in there. Oh, I forgot about my backup. So Laimbeer's going to be Cycli will be my backup center. Sorry, starting, backup. And then our backup forward is going to be Nance. I'm just going by points here. For this particular game, for the simplified version, points is the only thing that matters. And our guards are going to be, I think I'll go with Jordan and Derek Harper. Porter on the bench. I'd rather use Porter starting. Byron Scott doesn't even make the team. In fact, I'll switch those just for kicks. Because I know Porter's a point guard also. So there's our first team. They look pretty good. And our second team is going to be, put those off to the side. going to have Sigma at center with Blair Rasmussen as the backup. Malone and Pippen. I'll do kind of the same thing I did there. And I'll play Pippen because I'd rather. And then we'll have Charles Smith on the bench, but it probably should be Charles Smith. Or John Williams doesn't even make the team. And then you'll see a lot of that because a lot of these players, you get 15 cards a pack. A lot of it is you get like 10 guys who actually are starters and 5 guys who would normally be on the bench. So that's also why I'm using a very short bench here. If I pick 10 players each team, we'd see super high scoring games. Guards are going to be Richmond and Teagle and Darrell Walker on the bench. So there's our 2 teams. Let's get the guys who are cut out of here so I don't get confused. Those guys didn't make the team. If I was doing any kind of a tournament or league, you might use those guys as substitutions. You could introduce injuries and all kinds of fun stuff. But let's stick to the basics here. So this whole game is based on a principle of rolling a number of dice to see how many points that player scores. And it's based on his average points per game. So I'm going to write down our players here. We got David Robinson, Kale, McDaniel. This is an all-star team for sure. That's what I mean. I did a couple test runs of this with 1 pack split into 2 teams, and it actually worked pretty darn well. So they had 5 starters and just 2 subs, and that's okay, but it seemed like it came out to pretty realistic numbers of points because you didn't see these loaded lineups like this. But this is fine too. Nobody's going to be complaining that there's too many points, I don't think, because we have really good bench players. And then the other team, we're looking at Sigma, Mailman, Pippen, Richmond, Teagle, Rasmussen. I'll tell you who I think is going to win the game. Charles Smith and Darrell Walker. And here, let's go just in reverse order just because well, we'll do the underdogs first. So here's how it goes. Jack Sigma has 13.9 points per game. Can you see that? I guess I should show it. 13.9. So we're going to round that up to 14 and start picking out what dice he gets to roll. 10 points, so I'm going to use a 20-sided die to represent 10 points. So it's pretty easy to know if a guy's between 10 and 20 points, you're going to use a 20-sided die. If he's over 20 points, you're going to use 2 20-sided dice. When we get to Jordan and Mailman, they'll use 3 perhaps. So Sigma's, we're looking for 14 points. So there's 10, because a 20-sided die, the average roll is going to be about half of that, about 10. It's actually 10.5, but it's close enough that we'll work with it. And then 4 points. So the average there, we're going to want an 8-sided die. So I'm just thinking of them in terms of how many points they represent. 20 represents 10 points, and 8 represents 4. So I'm going to roll to see how many points he gets. He got, you see that? 6 and 5, 11. I'm going to subtract 2 from that because he's using 2 dice. So he got 9 points. That by subtracting 2, it allows for a player to have 0 points for one, and it also brings that average back down to a 9.5 instead of a 10.5, because there's also a mechanic to allow for players to get a whole bunch of points, and I'll get to that in just a second. Next up, Mailman Malone. This is where the big points should come from this team. He's got 31 points. So normally I would say first thing you do is grab 3 20-sided dice, but there's not really a way to get that 1 point. if I do that. So I'm going to use two 20-sided dice, so that's 10 points, 10 points. A 12-sided dice represents 6 points, and a 10-sided represents 5. So there's my 31 points for Mailman, so he'll subtract 4 from his total. Now before I roll his, I'll tell you the mechanic for getting extra points. If you play D&D, you'll be familiar with the critical roll, critical hit. So if a player ever rolls a 20, they get to re-roll that die and add that score as well. That will give people a chance for those really high-scoring games, or a chance to score more than double their average. So Malone is big money. He's got 16 and 12, 28, 10, ooh, and 10, wow. So 48, he rolled high on all four. 48 points minus 4 is 44 for the Mailman. Off to a good start. They might have a shot. We'll see. Scottie Pippen is a 16, or 16.5, so we're going to round up to 17. So he's going to be a 20-sided dice, that's 10 points. And then we got to get 7 points, so we want an 8-sided die for 4 and a 6-sided die for 3. So Pippen scores. I should get a little thing to roll in, huh? 11 minus 2 is 9 points. Off game for Pippen. Mitch Richmond is a 22, so we'll go 10, 20, and then a 4-sided die for the 2. Richmond with 14 minus 3, only 11. Uh-oh, Mailman, your big game has been nullified by your teammates not really coming up with anything. Teagle, 16, so we've got 10 and a 6. 19 and 2, 21, minus 2 is 19. Good game for Teagle, though. You'll get, if you run through a game, you'll catch on really quick how to figure out what to grab after a 20-sided die, or what to grab at all. So Blair Rasmussen's 12.4, so there's 10 points, and there's 2 points. 11, 12 minus 2 is 10 for Rasmussen. Charles Smith, oh, there's their big money guy off the bench. He's another one of those, like Mailman had 31. Smith's got 21. So instead of using two 20-sided dice and losing that 1 point, we'll use a 20, a 12, and a 10. So that's 10, 6, and 5. 21. 8. Let's see, that's 12 minus 3. 9 points only. Not a good game for him. They don't have a shot against Jordan and the Admiral here. And last but not least, Darrell Walker with 10. Rather than just rolling one 20-sided die to represent his 10 points, we want to get two. We want to roll 2 dice for a player if possible, so that there's not so much writing on that one roll. So you'll have fewer low-scoring and fewer high-scoring games, and more kind of in the middle. So I'll use, to get to 10, we'll use a 6, which is a 12-sided, and a 4, which is an 8-sided. Is that how I should do that? Yeah. Yep. And he gets 4 points, minus 2 is only 2. Okay, so their team score is 40. I'm just going to add this up real quick. 50, 60, 70. 83, 92, 93, 102, 93, 104, and 9 is 113. If I did my math right. Now let's see what the damage is from Jordan and Company. Starting with the Admiral, David Robinson. He's a 24.3, his rookie year. So we can go 10, 20, and then 4. Robinson gets 25 and 8. 33 minus 3 is 30. Good game for Robinson. McHale, 20.9, so he's at 21, so we want to go 20, 6, and 5, 10. I go 20, 12, and 10, or 10, 6, and 5, however you want to look at it. Hopefully you're following along with why I'm grabbing which dice. Oh boy, got a mess there. Uh-oh, there's the big 20. So Mikhail rolled a 20, 10, and 19. Huge rolls. So he's got 39 points, plus he gets to re-roll the 20. Oh, 41. He only rolled a 2 on that. 41 minus 3 is 38. Still a huge game. We could have 3 30-goal scorers here on this team. But that's kind of what's fun about this, too. Like, how lucky are you going to get in your pack? And the reason I call it Pack Wars is you could certainly play where where winner gets to keep all the cards. You each open a pack. Whoever wins the game gets to keep the cards. You want to make it interesting? And like I said, these work best with the kind of late 80s to early 90s packs before they had so many inserts. So I would say if you got a couple 86 Fleer basketball packs, just you got one and your buddy's got one, just open them up and play a game and winner take all. X-Man 21, so we're looking at, didn't Mikhail have 21 too? Yep, so he's going to roll the same exact dice. Probably not get the same exact score. 14, 2, and 0 represents 10. I think I said that. 24, 26 minus 3, 23. Michael Jordan. Let's find out how he does. 34, so he's going to get 10, 20, 30, and then the 8-sided for 4. So Jordan, that's a big game. 16 and 13 is 29, and 15 is 39, 44, and 3 is 47, minus 4, 43 points for Jordan. Now we're going to see a monster score from this team. Quarter, 17.6, so he's an 18. So we got 10, let's see, 10, 6, and 2. I like Terry Porter. I was a Blazers fan. I'm from Portland. 16 for Porter. Ronnie Cycli, 16.6, so he's a 17. 10, 5, and 2. 5 and 2 for Cycli. I think what you want to do is get the highest die you can get in there. I'm not quite sure why, but that makes the most sense to me. Because you could do a 20-sided, a 10-sided, and a 4-sided, or you could do a 20, an 8, and a 6. But for some reason, to me, it seems better to have the highest you can have in there. 14, 10, and 2 is 26 minus 3, 23. Big game for Cycli, even. You're going to have 200 points. This is Dream Team stuff here. Larry Nance is a 16, so 10 and 6. He's got 10 minus 2 is 8. And I almost said Bryce Harper. Harper, 10 and 6 and 2 for 18 points. Derek Harper. And he's got 8, 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 points. So their bench didn't put up as big a numbers, but let's see how bad, see what the damage is. 30, 60, 120, 30, 40, 50, 150, 161, 164, 170, 188. That's probably not going to happen in a basketball game. And this also alludes to, well, A, they were really lucky to have so many awesome players in one pack. But also, this is not a simulation of a basketball game. It doesn't go play by play. Even if you had all those players on the team, they're only going to have control of the ball so many times. You know what I mean? They only get possession so many times, so nobody's going to put up 188 points in an NBA game, even with those players, probably. But you can have several players have a big game at one time and it not have any bearing on how the other players do on your team. So in that sense, it's really just simulating each player's score a realistic, number of points for each player, and then adding them all up. So that's one of the drawbacks of the realism of it, but I feel pretty confident in the accuracy statistically of how it will work out per player if you played an 80-game season, which I don't imagine anybody's going to do, but if you did, you should probably see pretty close to the right average number of points for each player. Let's see. I mentioned that there's a couple different ways to do the bench. I could have easily picked another 2 players, another guard, and another forward for each bench. The reason I didn't is this right here. We already have 8 guys who should be starting, in our lineup. So if you were ever going to do that and do it where you're opening a 15-card pack and you want to use 10 players, I would suggest that for the guys you decide are your bench players, you start out by cutting their average in half. So Derek Harper, 18 points. I mean, he obviously should be in the starting 5, but on a team like this that's pretty loaded, he was coming off the bench. So he's going to get reduced minutes. So when I roll for him, I'm going to go, oh, he's a 9, not an 18, and I'm going to pick out, a 12-sided and a 6-sided and roll those for his points. So that way your bench doesn't get starting player type numbers all the time. With a bench of 3 players, I figured it was okay to kind of assume that they're still getting pretty good playing time. What else? Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to talk about for options. Oh yeah, I know what it was. The using rebounds and assists, and you could even do blocks and steals if you wanted to. For me, I'm just curious to see, who wins the game and how many points players score. But if you want to get into the other stats, and you've got some cards that show those stats per game averages, you could do it. You just do it exactly like I did this. If a guy averaged 10 rebounds in a game, you'd pick an 8 or a 12-sided die and an 8-sided die, and there's your 10 rebounds, and roll them, and then subtract 2. Same mechanic too. So I don't know if I mentioned this. Whenever somebody rolls a 20, they get an extra roll of a 20. If a guy has less than 10 average of whatever, and let's say their highest die that they're rolling is a 12-sided, if they roll a 12, they would get to then re-roll a 12. So they still have that same opportunity for the big game. They just it'll be more within their realm of how many points they should score. So you can add rebounds and assists if you'd like for flavor. It won't have any bearing on who wins or loses because the score is going to remain the same. But if you want to see if guys are getting double-doubles and triple-doubles, and if you're trying to do, a little mini league or tournament and want to track stats, you might want to do that. I think that's about it. I just wanted this to be a real simple, fun game. The video took way longer to describe than it actually takes to play it. Once you, like I said, grab a pack of 86 Fleer, play a quick game, and you'll see how it goes. It's not that hard to figure out which dice to grab. Hopefully you guys are all D&D nerds and already have the dice. If not, there are applications you can get on your phone for generating a random number or simulating that you're rolling a dice of whatever, they'll have 20-sided. They'll have all the dice options there that you would need. Heck, you can probably do, like I said, random number never mind, use dice. I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm calling it Pack Wars Basketball Trading Card Game. And I'm Brad Ooh. If you try it out, give me feedback. I'd love to hear what you think. If you thought it was fun, if you thought it was dumb, if you have any ideas for how to make it better. It's not intended to be some huge game that takes off. It's just like I said, as a kid, I always kind of had fun playing games. I would make up little baseball or hockey games with my dice and get a few packs and have a weekend of fun out of, a handful of packs of cards rather than just ripping through them and sticking them in a box and they never get seen again. It was kind of a way to have a little more fun with my cards than just opening them. So that was cool, and I got my Jordan. Hopefully I get one more. I'd like to put together a little hand collated set and then have all the singles as well. But I think Skybox, I don't have any Skybox. They came out same year. The Skybox was 91. So I think you could get a Skybox box. I think they have the average number of assists and rebounds on the back of the card, whereas if I do it here, David Robinson, it shows his rebounds for the season, but I'd have to do the math, and I don't want to have to do that. That's just more work than I want to put into this. I want it to be a real quick game. You roll and see what they get, write it down, add them up, and that's that. Alright, thanks for watching. I'm Brad Ooh.